Hello, I want to welcome you to True Texas History. I am Jeff Murrah, and I appreciate you tuning in and watching this today. Today is January the 5th, and back in 1836, this was the day that David Crockett arrived in Nacogdoches, Texas. Now, I'm going to be covering some aspects of David Crockett, his arrival, and what was going on behind that is typically swept out of your history books, that you don't hear much about. Now, you have to ask yourself the question, what brought David Crockett to Texas? Well, he had been interested in Texas for a while. And once he arrived in Texas, one of the things that he did was swear an oath of allegiance to the Republic of Texas or its Republican government. Now, he made sure in his oath of allegiance that they included Republican. This is important because he did not want to swear an oath of allegiance to a government that was tyrannical or despotic. He wanted a government that was representative of the people. Now, why would David Crockett do that? Why do the history books and pop culture want to portray a whole different view of David Crockett? That's an interesting question. Now, in the time I grew up, I am familiar with John Wayne and Red Skelton talking about how David Crockett fought for America at the Alamo, which is hogwash. His allegiance was to the Republic of Texas. You need to realize that. This is part of our heritage that has been stolen from us, and we need to recognize that. It was for Texas. Now, with David Crockett wanting them to modify the Oath of Allegiance to be Republican, what went down with David Crockett that led him to take such a stand? Well, you've got to look at his political career. Now, he had been a congressman for a couple of sessions. Now, he was a congressman from Tennessee. And at that time, the power in Tennessee was Andrew Jackson. And Andrew Jackson, of course, wanted everyone to agree with him in his policies. Although David Crockett had fought with Andrew Jackson in some of the Indian Wars, he fought against Jackson on some of his policies. He was known as a very staunch anti-Jackson man. And Jackson didn't take kindly to it. Now, you don't find much mention of Crockett's anti-Jackson policies and what went on politically. Some of the issues that they disagreed on was the relocation of the Indians. Of course, Jackson wanted to move them. Crockett took a different approach. Now, Crockett in the 1830s was also a very popular figure. His books were selling. His tall tales, people wanted to hear them. Now, this is where we have some weirdness. There is a version of history, the Davy Crockett version, which is more the tall tales type of thing. In fact, in some of the tall tales, a character like his is referred to as Davy. He went by David Crockett, and in his own autobiography, he corrected some of these things. He told what actually happened and what didn't. The point is, he was a best-selling author. His books were getting published. He was making money off the books. And the attention given to him gave him the inspiration to even consider a run for the president. And there were parties that were willing to back him as an anti-Jackson candidate. So here he was campaigning along the East Coast for president. Jackson would have been threatened by him because he was a popular character, and Jackson was a popular character, and they ran afoul of each other. So you have an election in 1835 that he lost. And of course, he was upset about it, and I don't blame him for being upset. In fact, should we say, in November of 1835, he wrote on the eve of his departure he wanted to explore Texas well before he returned. And also, it was shortly after, because I want to get the quote, in 1835, he lost his seat to Adam Huntsman, who was a peg-leg lawyer supported by Jackson and also the governor of Tennessee. And he lost the election by 252 votes. Now, Crockett, after his defeat, he had a farewell drinking party, and that's when he delivered his famous speech, "Since you have chosen to elect a man with a timbered toe to succeed me, you may all go to hell, and I'll go to Texas." That's the story behind it. He lost to Huntsman, who had a peg leg. Of course, Crockett referred to him as timber toe. And, of course, this makes you wonder what was going on politically. Was this one of those elections that was rigged? It would not be the first time that elections were rigged, and definitely not the last time. That Huntsman, who history has largely forgotten, won by the 252 votes, which sent David Crockett in a whole nother direction. Of course, he was on the outs with the rising political party. And he left Tennessee and traversed the countryside, went to Natchitoches, and Natchitoches on into the Red River colonies, and finally to Nacogdoches, where he took the oath of allegiance. And I wanted to go ahead and cover those parts about his oath of allegiance and what was going on politically, and also that he was a popular figure, and some of his political policies were not sitting well with Jackson, who had other plans. And he didn't want Crockett upsetting him. It would have been interesting, had Crockett gone ahead and been elected president of the United States. I think things would have been very different. Because keep in mind, in Tennessee is the home, you're dealing with Crockett, you're dealing with Houston, you're dealing with Jackson. A lot of these people from Tennessee at the time, it's almost like that was the power place that many of these people came from. Anyways, I appreciate you tuning in, learning a little more about Crockett. I hope that you enjoyed it. There's many facets of Crockett's life that are worth exploring, but now you know about his oath of allegiance to Texas versus the United States. So the Alamo was not about expanding U.S. territory as much as it was establishing the Republic of Texas, because they knew something wasn't working in Washington. Even back then. You also had him, went by David Crockett rather than Davy Crockett. And then the other thing that I'm hoping that you take away from this is that for whatever reason, his disagreements with Jackson have been swept under the carpet. I know when I have gone through some of the biographies of Jackson, you see almost no mention of Davy Crockett. He disagreeing on policy. It's almost like people want to forget about that. Well, until next time, this is Jeff Murrah, wishing you via con Dios, my friends. Thank you for tuning in. Talk to you later. Bye.